at that very moment, I realized, oh, I'm dead, but this is quite fine. I don't care. I knew I was dead.
And I also was sorry that I was leaving all the people that I loved and that loved me.
My immediate reaction from the separation from my body was that I was really confused. I didn't know what was going on. It was just like I was, and I think because it was just so traumatic.
I was just there in the presence of God, and I was surrounded by light, and there was just brilliant light. And in some way I felt the existence of God.
And I was saying, isn't this wonderful? What wonderful feelings I had here. I felt such tremendous love coming towards me that I can't even put into words what that kind of love felt like.
The media loves a sensational story, and there can't be anything more sensational than hearing the personal stories of people who died and lived to tell about their experience. These stories aren't just media events, but the personal lives of ordinary people, lives filled with ordinary things, except for the brief time they felt they were on the other side of death. Laurel Glass, an error during a routine laparoscopic procedure, threatened her life and sent her on a voyage to the light. Gloria Woodward, after having her thyroid removed, had a relapse and an encounter with a God-like presence. Al Sullivan left his body during open-heart surgery and met his deceased mother. Paul Hoffman fell down a cliff. Only recently has he started to recall his near-death experience. Maureen Clinton, for her, the near-death experience was a gift she doesn't want to forget. What happens when we die has intrigued mankind from the beginning. Different cultures have different beliefs of the afterlife, and many believe in the migration of the soul. Because of modern resuscitation techniques, more people are surviving close brushes with death and are reporting an experience of light, love, and harmony. Is the near-death experience a spiritual evolution or a reaction to the trauma of the inevitable, death? We spoke with Professor Hewitt Cousins from the Theology Department at Fordham University and director of the Center for Contemporary Spirituality.
When I first learned about the near-death experiences from hearsay and a little reading, I had already been studying the writings of the mystics, of Augustine and Bonaventure, the Hesychast and so forth. And so I thought they're very similar. It's remarkable. And then also I thought, well, that's to be expected.
Author of Frontiers of the Soul, Professor Michael Grosso of Jersey City State College concurred.
The profound similarity to religious or mystical experience. Mystics throughout the ages have reported similar encounters with beings of light, a sense of magnificent unconditional love.
How would other cultures feel about someone who has had a near-death experience?
Well, I think at other periods of history and in other cultures that there would be a context for those people who have these near-death experiences to be considered as very special people and people who are holy and have encountered the holy realm. I think that our modern Western culture is, or has been, I should say has been, not very inclined to recognize this kind of experience in that way.
Popular culture started to change when Raymond Moody published Life After Life in 1974.
There had been other work on this previous to Moody's, but Moody's work caught the imagination of the public. And so now we seem to we're in the midst of a changing mythology of death right now.
Dr. Bruce Grayson was introduced to the near-death experience as a faculty member at the University of Virginia Medical School, where Raymond Moody was serving his residency. Dr. Grayson has been interested in the near-death experience ever since. Currently, he is the Director of Research at the International Association of Near-Death Studies and is part of the faculty at the University of Connecticut Medical School.
The near-death experience occurs to roughly 5% of Americans, which is about 1/3 of people who come close to death in a near-death event. It happens to people who are actually pronounced dead and then recover, as well as to people who just think they're going to die. For example, people who are in a car accident aren't physiologically impaired, but are afraid they're going to die momentarily. And these people have the same types of NDEs as people who actually are pronounced dead, whose hearts actually stop. Well, the most common elements in a near-death experience are first an overwhelming sense of peace and pleasantness and well-being, and followed then by a sense of leaving the physical body, sometimes going through a tunnel to another realm beyond the tunnel where one may encounter a warm, loving being of light, sometimes deceased relative or religious figures, being guided through a life review, eventually coming to some decision about whether to come back or not, or being told, in some cases, to come back. Among the theories that have been proposed to explain the near-death experience are that this is a malfunction of the temporal lobe, which is the area of the brain where memories, for example, are stored, which might explain the life review part of the near-death experience. There are a number of biochemical theories about what causes the NDE. There are neuroanatomical theories about it. But these are all pretty much untestable and as yet untested theories about the experience.
I was walking up the median when a car came down. I remember it was a '67 Mustang, came flying down the road, saw the accidents, and slammed on his brakes, and he went into a spin. And when he did, the car turned towards me, and the car was swerving as it came towards me. So I jumped to the right, and the car went to the right. And I jumped to the left, the car went to the left. And each time I jumped, I backed up. And the last time I jumped and backed up, the guardrail was at the back of my legs. And that's when I thought, this is it. It's all over.
As I went over the edge of the rocks, time did seem to freeze for a while, or it slowed down quite a bit, because quite a bit flashed through my mind. And I had the chance to look up into the trees above me and the rocks that were where the trees were growing out of, and I saw them getting brighter and brighter.
My body was down on the table, and there were 7 people. I remember 3 on each side and 1 at the head, and then there was a lot of commotion, people coming in and out, and I was up, and I don't know how I know direction, but I was up and off to the right, which was my right, and I was seeing the physical body, and I had no physical body. I just had the essence of me, who I am.
And I was in this warm, peaceful, dark place. I never saw anything, heard anything, felt anything. I didn't use any of my senses, but I was more acutely there than I've ever been anywhere.
The first movement I saw in this darkness was what I refer to as an exact picture of the Grim Reaper. What with his brown cloak, his skeletal bony face and hands, and they were kind of yellowish, and they kind of beckoned to me to come towards it.
About a year and a half ago, I had remembered that I sensed that someone was there, and I sensed that it was my grandfather, who had died about 8 or 9 years ago. We were pretty close, and what he was telling me was that everything's going to be all right.
My brother-in-law came, and again, it was